All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome on into the Cinema Lords podcast. Big episode today. One I'm very excited for. I got a guy that I'm a big fan of on the show, Barstool personality, blogger, podcaster. Might know him from Lights Camera Barstool, or a show that he created and hosts, The Bracket. Comes out on Thursdays. Every single week I listen to it. It's a fun, easy, great listen. Every single Thursday I wake up, hop in the shower, I have it on as soon as I hop in. But Mr. Jack Kennedy, aka Kenjac, what's going on, buddy? Thanks for joining the show.
Thanks, sir. That's a great intro. That was amazing. You gassed me up big time. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I've been listening to Lights Camera for a long time. I mean, obviously, I miss Ballins. That was just
Yeah, it was a tough
when
one.
it first started. It was a great time.
Yeah,
But,
actually,
I still listen to fucking Gooch. Sorry,
I haven't said it. I don't think I've said it anywhere at all. I only met Trill Bones for the first time in person, kind of recently. Like I think like a few weeks ago, something like that.
get the fuck out of here! Really?
We had never met in person just because like he's just out different part of the country doing his own stuff. But met him for the first physical time, and it was awesome. Yeah, but we miss him terribly.
Yeah, it was just a different dynamic when he was there.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a unique cat. But yeah, like I said, thanks for coming on. How's everything going? Everything good?
I'm good. Everything's going great. I'm happy you reached out to talk. It was so funny. The first time I'd seen you was in the basketball game when, like, because I'm still like working my way into the Kirk stratosphere, I guess, of people. And when I was watching the game, the announcers, who by the way were incredible, they were so good, unbelievable. One of them's like, "Yeah, there's Cinema Lords," and I was like, "Who the fuck is Cinema Lords? That's an awesome name." I immediately text Jeff. I'm like, "Who's Cinema Lords?" They go, "Oh yeah, he does this show. It is this, does this." I was like, "Oh, this is incredible. I gotta talk to this guy."
Yeah, it ended up just becoming so. There's a guy in the world whose name is Mick, M-I-C-K, and then my actual name is Nick, N-I-C-K. So it very much was very complicated. So Cinema Lords just became the title, and which kind of then dropped the cinema. That's all because of the announcers. I have no part in that. The cinema drop was all them.
That's awesome.
That was a fun game. You coach them a lot, don't you?
I coached them last season. I played a little bit the season before. It's just like it was really I think a lot more fun not having to get into the mix because the teams you're playing in that were all like guys just out of college, like 22-year-olds, 23-year-olds who were just like really aggressive. And I was just like, I'm not good enough or athletic enough to continue playing in this type of league.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when, like, I'm sure you hadn't done anything like that in a while. It's not like fucking men's leagues. You're either a men's league guy, you've been doing it forever, or it's not common to just jump in all of a sudden. I feel like it, whatever. How old are you?
I'm 31.
Oh, all right. Same age.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
It's a tough one to get back in.
Oh, yeah. No doubt. When I played on Kirk's team, that was the first time I'd play since before COVID. I did play for a while, probably until like 24 or 25. And then once COVID hit, that put a big stop on everything.
Yeah, pretty much the same.
Yeah. So we kind of talked about it a little bit in our messages. What I did basically was pick out like 7 or 8 big overall topics that are basically big IPs for the most part, and then a couple of questions, underneath those. So I figure that way we can shift through a whole bunch of things and talk about a whole bunch of different shit.
Cool.
All right, cool. And then also, if anytime we're running long, just say the word and we can wrap.
Oh, no worries. I'm waiting for. This is my edit day, so right now, right before we got on, just threw it all in Adobe to export. So now I'm just waiting for that to export for the next like a few hours anyway.
Nice. Is that for the bracket tomorrow?
Yeah, for tomorrow's bracket.
Nice. Which is what was
It's top signs that you're washed. Which honestly, whole spiel I just said about not being able to compete versus all of these young 20-year-olds. That's probably the biggest sign. But it's a fun one. Yeah,
multiple day hangovers. I'm gonna guess is gonna be the 1 seed, but I'll find out.
It is highly seeded. I can promise you that.
Yeah, I'm starting to hit that wall the last like year or so where it's starting to. I'm like, oh wow, I know what you guys are talking about now.
Yeah, exactly.
So I figured we'll start kind of with relevancy. Let's start with Westeros, House of the Dragon. Season 2 just wrapped up. Kind of a controversial season, I guess, online. A lot of different opinions about it. So I guess let's kind of just start there. What were your overall thoughts on season 2, and how would you kind of compare it to season 1?
So my bearing on season 1 was so I guess tied into how season 2 was going to work. Where I'm like, with season 1, like there's a lot of good, like cool, interesting scenes, but so much of it is like, okay, well, it's set up for season 2, so maybe I'm going to like season 1 more once I see season 2. Almost in the same way, I felt kind of the same way about Dune, I'm like, wow, Dune 1 is really good, but it's so tied into how Dune 2 is going to play out and like how the connectivity of that and observing it as like one media product. But this season was so much like last season, and that is just a ton more setup for the next season that I felt very unfulfilled. And it's not the fault of like an actor or like a specific like production design. I think the production design is still credible. Most of the actors, I don't think there's really like a bad performance or anything like that. It's all top level stuff. It's all like the showrunner just, I think, kind of got, I don't know. I think he lost the plot a little bit.
Okay. I was gonna say you'd probably know better than I do, but is there any chance like that writer strike kind of fucked with having? Because this felt like it should still be 10 episodes. It felt like it wanted to be 10 episodes, especially where you don't usually have seasons starting off with a major battle. That's usually how you end, and then especially with Thrones, you deal with the fallout in the finale, and then kind of go with the new storylines where everybody advanced in the next season.
I think that it's a little bit different, but I don't know. With the thing with House of the Dragon is like it's so much more, so many more expectations lauded onto it, right? Because of Game of Thrones. And I think a lot of like the showrunners and those people again at the top level, they want to recreate a lot of stuff that worked in Game of Thrones, like dynamics. Like the big one I always point out is like the Larys and Littlefinger dynamic in Game of Thrones. It's like one of the coolest things you get. And I think they've tried to recreate that a lot in this. And like you have like other characters, like you want the big bad boss dragon lady, you want the big bad boss this. Like they try to recreate a lot of those things, I think, in this, which isn't necessarily the move to make. And from what I've been told by book readers is that like where the book, where it's kind of more just like a history annal. Like it's like this season is apparently only like 30 pages of the book or something like that.
Right. It's only like 3 weeks even on the show.
Exactly. It's like, so it feels a little bit like they're stretching shit out and kind of losing what the sort of more gray area of the show or gray area of the books. Because they say in the books it's supposed to be like you don't like either Alicent Hightower or Rhaenyra Targaryen. Yeah, but the show is so like clearly like you're supposed to hate the Hightowers more than anything on Earth, and you're supposed to.
I do feel like they make Alicent kind of sympathetic though.
Towards the end of this last season, yeah, but it's like you hate the Hightowers on a whole. Like you want the Greens for sure. Yeah, yes, like you're, and that I think is not what from what, again, I haven't read the book, so I can't talk explicitly to it. But what book readers have told me,
for sure. So I think a big reason why this was a controversial season was the Daemon scenes. Some people really didn't like them. I think a lot of people didn't. It's actually one thing that I actually really did enjoy. I liked the Daemon Harrenhal stuff. I'm very into the magic element of Game of Thrones, so I liked the visions and the Alice River character. People were saying that it just left him off with still doing the same thing and kind of bending the knee to Rhaenyra. But I was like, I think it goes well beyond that. I think he was finally he saw what his brother was seeing his whole life, which he had always scoffed at. And now he sees it for himself. And now I think he looks at his brother in a different light, which changes how he looks at everything else in his life and how he looks at everything going forward, especially with the vision of, the White Walkers, Daenerys, and all that shit. So I liked like I said, I liked we found out that the whole Harrenhal thing was based on like built on weirwoods and weirwood trees.
Yeah.
All that stuff I really enjoyed, which I know a lot of people didn't.
So I agree with you in that I think the sort of realization of like Daemon being like, I'm not the main character, I'm just a cog on the machine of like this whole story. That's a really cool realization, right?
Yes.
I think where people get tied up on is like that could have been a 2-episode thing, him going to Harrenhal, him having the vision, him coming back basically. And versus it being the entire season, especially when the first season you get so many different layers of Daemon. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And this is a lot of him in like the Haunted Mansion for probably too long. And that I understand, but that's also like where you get almost this like with the Hobbit movies, like when you're stretching shit out across 3. Yeah. It's like there's only so much they can do to stretch that shit out.
Yeah, it's like a 340-page book or something like that, dragged into like 3-hour-long movies. It was insanity.
Exactly. It was like a no-win situation.
So I just started Fire and Blood. I'm only like 2, so I'm well off from Dance of the Dragons. But from what I understand as well, is that Daemon kind of at this time is just like kind of said to be at Harrenhal, and that's it. So to me, I was like, all right, I get the complaint that it's somewhat boring, but it's like, what else can we do with them? Because everybody else is doing things that he can't interrupt. Like Jace has to go win over the Freys and shit. He can't go do that. Like his problem is just with the Riverlands, and he did deal with that along with the visions. So it's like, to me, it's like, do you just not want Daemon in the season? Like Matt Smith, I'd have to imagine is top casted or top billed in this. So it's like, do you just not want him in the show, basically?
I think maybe in this, again, it's not necessarily, at least in my head, for the complaint of it isn't that. It's more like, again, top level show running thing where it's like they didn't properly lay out the flight path for this to include enough of the good parts of Damon and like kind of minimize the things that people will find repetitive and boring or whatever else. And maybe that, I don't know if that includes like maybe doing one less season of the show or whatever else, because I feel like people are more content when things are rushed. Like people, I remember in Game of Thrones when like they had one sequence where it was like someone had flown from the wall to King's Landing really fast, and everyone's like, oh, that was weird. But I think people are way less jarred by that than by repetition of a season.
Yes,
if that makes sense.
Yeah. I'll say the worst one in the scenario you just described was the when the seven, like Jon Snow, he leads the thing north of the wall to get the White Walker.
Yeah,
they're like, they have Gendry run back to the wall, send a raven to Dragonstone where Daenerys is, and Daenerys flies all the way to the north on Dragonback in like one night.
Yes, that was crazy. That was the one I was trying to remember. It was like there was one where I was like, there was one very egregious part. Yeah, but even that, again, people are more, I feel like more easily like they forgive that more than they will like a repetition of boredom.
Just a bad storyline in general, sending 7 guys north to capture a White. I hated it. Hated it.
All like pretty important dudes too, for the most part.
Yes. Those books I read through, and I can't believe I'm probably never going to get the last 2.
I know, it reminds you. Do you ever seen Logan Lucky?
Yes.
There's a great Game of Thrones sequence in that where like the prisoners riot and like they demand that they get the Winds of Winter.
Yes.
Yeah. This movie's from like 2017, and like the one's like, it's not done yet, and like there's no way it's not done yet. We've been in prison for 10 years, and it's like, sorry,
with the cafeteria they have like on lockdown, basically. That's right.
And that movie's from 2017, man. That's good crazy. Still nothing.
I haven't seen that in a while. I'll have to watch that one again because that's really. I remember really liking that movie.
Mm-hmm. Did you watch The Instigators, by the way? Speaking of just like the Soderbergh type of.
Not yet.
Yeah, it's a Boston-based movie. It is. I really wanted it to be a lot better than it was. It was just okay, I would say.
Yeah, I figured. Is that on Apple TV? Or was that
Apple TV? Yeah,
Apple TV. Yeah. Let's see. The only last thing I would ask about the whole Westeros thing would kind of be, how interested are you in this massive expansion? We have like Knights of the Seven Kingdoms. We already know that's coming for sure. And then obviously we have House of the Dragon, and then we supposedly have 6 other shows in development. I think it's like 3 live action, 3 animated. That's a massive expansion.
I think that like maybe the way to look at it is almost like, and maybe I don't know if people will agree with this or disagree with it, but like I think that you can look at it almost in the same way as like Disney Plus. Or like with Star Wars. And Star Wars, they had a lot of stuff that they've made. Not all of it's good. Some of it stunks. But like there are things that really work Star Wars. And they threw a lot of darts. Some have hit, some haven't. So like Andor, I think, is amazing. Like some other shows I think are really good. And like, but then you'll get a what do you call it? Like a Book of Boba Fett or whatever, which stinks. And it's like, okay, well, you just don't watch that. And then like the next thing, maybe Duncan and the Egg is great. And then the Night of the Seven Kingdoms stinks. You just got to kind of like pick your battle there.
I hear you. I was going to say, out of the list I've seen, there's one that really jumps out to me. It's that 1,000 Ships, because so you said you've read the books too, right?
Yeah.
The original. Okay. So the whole Dorne storyline entirely is just removed from the show. And to me, Dorne is like the most interesting part in all reality of like all of Westeros. They were able to avoid bending the knee, and like they have a beautiful fucking kingdom. And all the people just want to like fight, fight. Like that's all they do.
Exactly.
And that whole like, if they do that show, that should mostly take place in Dorne. So I'm very interested in having that show become a reality.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good scenes too. Like there was the guy that was like a Targaryen cousin that went to go to like Marine to, I forget his name. That went. To
Marine the storyline in the book's awesome. It's a member of the Kingsguard.
Yeah, there's so many cool like different little mini stories there that they wiped out, and like a lot of it's for time. And again, if we like hindsight's 2020 and all that, but like if you go and insert that into it, people might be like, oh, well, I hate this storyline. It's detracting from Daenerys, it's detracting from Jon Snow. So like it's really tough to kind of guess what audiences want. But I do think that the last thing that they want usually is to be like kind of in neutral. They really want things, especially in the Game of Thrones world, to be advancing, and you want really good dialogue scenes. Like everyone thinks like, I think some people, they kind of observe or think Game of Thrones as being like, oh, big action set pieces, oh, big like battle shit like that. Which it's really not
true. No, for sure not.
all conversations, three people in a room talking, really biting, good dialogue. And that I think is something that's maybe been missing, especially from this season.
I think it is tough because they are working with such a smaller like
Yeah.
pool. Like Game of Thrones, you have 17 goddamn families. You have so many characters in each family. There's so much bouncing around and storytelling. This, you're only working with, two sides. It's the same family. You got, 15 characters maybe like in total that really matter to the show. Maybe a few more, maybe 18, 20 tops though. It's just less to work with.
I think maybe that the inspiration then for this should have been less Game of Thrones and more like Succession, if that makes sense. Where it's like that is
only seen like 6 episodes of Succession, so I wasn't a fan.
That's totally understandable. I think that would have been a good blueprint maybe for this, where it's like that show is a great example of you have a very limited group of characters, and they are all of it is about like their dialogue with each other. Not a lot of big like whoa like fight moments, anything like that. It's all just talking and conversations and what they mean and how like I love that shit, and that's what people really love about Game of Thrones, and I think it was missing a bit.
It definitely is, especially like when this season you had Rhaenyra's council. I feel like have the same conversation like 14 times. It just didn't need it. Didn't need it. Overall, mediocre season. To me, the only season, as far as if you take House of the Dragon and Thrones, the only one I liked less is the final season of Thrones.
Final season of Thrones, yeah.
I think
totally agree.
Yeah. Let's jump to Middle Earth. Middle Earth, we got Rings of Power season 2 coming up real soon. I saw that you just got done with a rewatch, which I did as well. My girlfriend had never seen it, so we just rewatched as well. I feel like a rewatch was really good for this show. I don't know about you, but I felt like as far as week 2, I felt like a deeper week to week thing. As far as just being able to binge right through it, I thought it played well.
I liked it way better on rewatch, although I will definitely admit that I skipped a lot of the Arondir Bronwyn stuff. Is just that to me is like, and I think that's something that's maybe the weakest part of Game of Thrones too. The more you get into the romance part of things and outside of the more political intrigue, which is I think what really works here too. So like the elves, like just straight up corruption of man. That's like the base fucking foundation of all of Game of Thrones. That's the coolest shit. It's been the coolest part of the entirety of Rings of Power. When you get sidetracked by all this like other side stories, like them, the Harfoots, all that, I feel like I get a little bit dragged down, and I really want to just stick to like when I skip it. I just watch Galadriel. I watch like them in Numenor, which is amazing.
Yeah,
that's so good. The soundtrack, banging, the scenery, the production
looks
design,
beautiful.
the value, and all of it. Gorgeous. That stuff is all really good, and I really liked it a lot more on the rewatch.
Yeah. So I knew that was one thing. So I do remember, I can't remember where it was, but I do remember hearing you complain about the Harfoots. And let me tell you, dude, if there was a mini series about the fucking Harfoots, I would be there with my feet up, with a big smile on my face. I fucking love the Harfoots. I can't get enough of them. My favorite storyline by far on the rewatch was the Stranger and then the fucking Harfoots. I love them. Couldn't get enough. Acorn hats and shit.
I will say I'll note to your credit, I like them more in the rewatch than I did during the live watch, because like I think during the live watch when like you're all you want is like, where are they going to Numenor? Where are they doing this? Yes. And then like you're stuck with like them, just being like, we still don't know who this guy is. It's like that's boring. But on a rewatch when it's you're getting more shit coming, it's definitely a lot less abrasive. I wouldn't say the same thing with the Arondir Bronwyn stuff, which I still think is super distracting, but I think the Harfoots are way more bearable.
I don't remember the dwarf's name, but he's freaking awesome, man.
Yeah, Durin. It's Durin.
Durin.
Yeah, he's really good.
He's awesome. I love that with him and the Lord of Rivendell. Yeah.
Good. The scene when they get introduced into Khazad-dûm, the music that hits in that scene is so good.
Yes,
it's amazing.
It's also cool to see Khazad-dûm like in its heyday, like prime waterfalls. It's built beautifully. Yeah. We only see it in Lord of the Rings. It's fucking demolished and abandoned.
It's a hellhole, and it looks so good. And that music hidden, and then everything else you get like again just little lore stuff for the dwarves, because you don't get a ton of that really in Game of Thrones either.
Yeah,
in Lord of the Rings, because they're again all gone in the entirety of Lord of the Rings for the most part, the main trilogy, and then you kind of get like little bits and pieces of them in The Hobbit, which is not great.
Yeah. No, I loved it. It was awesome seeing that. It was honestly all the places, like not Rivendell. Where are they? Where are the elves?
They go to Eregion, which is where the forge is, and then they go to
then the island way across that's going to go under the flood. That was beautiful. That's Numenor.
That's straight Numenor, and that looks amazing.
It does.
So I don't know. And that's one thing where like everyone was like, "Oh, the budget." Like, but man, it pays off here. It looks really good.
That was definitely the biggest part of that because that was the biggest budget in TV like history, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, they also included like the IP purchase though, because like I think they had to pay like basically $500 million just to be able to use the IP because the Tolkien family is just they're the worst. They're the worst people alive. They are.
Oh yeah, no shit.
So like they hate the Lord of the Rings movies, the original trilogy. They despise them. They think, and these movies have made them untold millions of dollars.
No shit.
They are so hyper, I don't know, like almost zealot, like zealots with like the source material of Tolkien. Like they don't think if everything is word to word from the book, like exactly how it was written down, they hate it. So they hate Peter Jackson's first trilogy. They hate The Hobbit, which we're kind of on the same terms with. And I don't know how they feel about Rings of Power though. So, but I assume hate too.
Yeah. I mean, have you watched the director's cuts are awesome for fucking the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I love how they made like Gandalf the stoner that he actually is in the books. That was my favorite part. Like in the first one, they're like, all right, yeah, Gandalf smokes a lot of weed. And I'm like, hell yeah, let's go.
Exactly what we wanted out of him.
Yeah, for sure. So would you say like you're excited for season 2? Like
I would say for sure, especially they just dropped a new trailer today, and I thought it was awesome looking. They like a lot of queue up
sequences today.
Yeah, like a new I forget what they call it, like the last big trailer before the release, but it looks amazing. Like a lot of big action set piece fights between and this is one Lord of the Rings is a show or a movie or an IP where the big battles are a big part of it. Like they show a big fights between orcs and elves, siege of I think it was Eregion and like all these other fight sequences, and it looks really cool. I will say I don't think I saw a single Harfoot or the Stranger for that matter during that. Sorry to say. It was all elves. Oh, and you do get
they're going to be gone
Sauron
anyway. It's just going to be the one that's with Gandalf. I can't even think of her name. Nori,
yeah.
So, dude, like I said, I rewatched that, but then right after that was House of Dragons. So it's like everything as far as names go, it goes right out the window because especially with House of the Dragon, you get 13 Aegons and it's chaos.
Everyone. 15 Viserys, like there's
exactly
repeat names. Yeah.
The old King Jaehaerys, and then Allison's I'm sorry, not Allison. Helena's 2 kids, Jaehaerys and Jaehaerys, I think it is. It's just like
come on. I think it's new names, guys.
The one other thing from the Middle Earth world is War of the Rohirrim, which is coming out December 13th. This is something I was excited for. I love Lord of the Rings, obviously, and I'm not thrown off by animation. But then I saw like the trailer for it. The animation style, I was kind of surprised by. It kind of threw me off a little bit.
Yeah, I would agree. But I would also say that I've been fooled by this many times where there's certain animation styles I really just don't like. Like generally speaking, 3D animation is just like not something I'm into. Like, and then a couple times now recently, there was a Netflix anime called Blue-Eyed Samurai, which like that exact sort of animation style is typically one I hate. And then I watched it, I'm like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. So I've been fooled enough times now where like I'm not letting my like kind of pre-visual bias, I guess, kind of rule it. I'm going to be a little more open to it. Exactly. Yeah. And I think they have a pretty cool voice cast too, if I remember right.
Do they? That I didn't see. I didn't check that out, but I believe it.
Yeah, I'll double check.
I feel like anything animated usually kind of goes in as far as voices. That's where they spend their money.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if you relate to this too. My when I watched these movies as a kid, my dad loved the Rohirrim, and like me and him bonded over just like fucking loving those horse lords. They're just badass, like they're the blue collar warriors, and then like which is like basically just my dad. Yeah, and then like the Gondor were like the fancy white collar workers. So we were all Rohirrim all the time.
And they honestly like pretty much always look Gondor look bad. Like there's never even like Faramir he ends up like having good moments, but before that he has bad moments. Pretty much Boromir has like, a couple of good, again, a couple bad. They show their dad, the steward, he's an asshole. There's not really like any like good moments for Gondor in that show. I mean, those movies.
And the speech that Théoden gives in front of like right before the Minas Tirith battle is so good. Like Éomer rocks, obviously, and he came on. A lot of people in Lord of the Rings did, but like he really went on Carl Urban to be like a great.
Oh yeah, no shit.
Yeah, and then double check the voice cast by the way. exactly. I double checked the voice cast. Brian Cox, who's obviously now huge from Succession and has been a working actor for a very long time, and Miranda Otto, who played Eowyn in.
I don't know about you, but the first thing I think of is him standing in that bathtub in the ring with the toaster oven.
Yeah, I think that or him showing up in Braveheart, when he's like,
that's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh shit, that's funny. I've seen Braveheart a billion times. It's one of my favorite movies, and for some reason I never would have thought of Brian Cox in that.
There's a lot of actors. I rewatched Braveheart recently, and like I'd never put together like that's that person. Where like they'd show up. The guy, the crazy Irishman, is the dude from The Departed.
Flanagan?
Like,
oh, no.
Yeah, like, or no, it's the Irish guy from The Departed, basically the guy who puts all the names into the list or whatever, that they frame as being an FBI agent, like, and is in multiple other things. I didn't realize that was him. Like Brendan Gleeson, obviously in Braveheart. Brendan's son is Domhnall. Yeah, Brendan Gleeson in it. So many other actors. I think Brian Cosmo's his dad in that. So many good actors in that.
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's filled. I'd say Tommy Flanagan's one of my guys. He's in all of my favorite things, basically. I'm in the middle of a Sons of Anarchy watch because my girlfriend's never seen that either. He's fucking. You a Sons fan?
Yeah, of course. It's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one I got onto late, and I love FX shows. I think FX is honestly the second best network behind HBO.
Killing it. It's killing it.
So many. I've been like trying to go back on the backlog of shows that I didn't really watch when I was younger. So I did Sons. And then I watched The Shield for the first time.
Shield's good.
Shield is great. Justified, I went through. Like,
haven't watched that one yet.
Really good.
That one I keep. It's always on like whatever network it's on. Like on, say if it's because it moves around. It'll jump from Hulu to Netflix to wherever.
Yeah.
And it's always on my For You page, and I've just never dove into it. And I fucking love Walter Goggins, and I don't know why I haven't watched it. I don't know.
Yeah, Goggins for some reason. So good too.
He's freaking awesome. He was just in what was the fucking video game show? He was awesome in that.
Oh, Fallout. Yeah.
Fallout.
He was really good in that. And he's in like all the Danny McBride, Gordon Green stuff, like Vice Principals he's found and all that.
Full circle, Sons of Anarchy, Wears Tits, Transvestite.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. And he's just great in that show.
That's true. Yep. No. Goggins is the man. Yep. Right, we hit Lord of the Rings. Let's go to MCU. Obviously, Deadpool just crossed $1 billion, less than 3 weeks. Sorry for the second time. I actually liked it more the second time. We got a couple of things, though. Thunderbolts trailer leaked yesterday, which I actually thought looked pretty good. Not going to lie.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watched the leak, but the only thing I took away, though, is what happened to Sebastian Stan? Why does Bucky look like such... What happened? He looked so handsome in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now he looks like he's been going through it again. He looks like he's back on his Depression Boys season.
Yeah, exactly. He's like he looks like a divorced dad or something like that. About to buy like a Cadillac. Or like a new car. This is one too where I really didn't. I would say I have lower expectations for Thunderbolts just based on the premise and everyone involved. I was like, these are good actors that feel like it's kind of like in a check. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm going to get a ton of money to come be in a Marvel movie like Florence Pugh or whatever else, or Julia Louis-Dreyfus. But like, I'm starting to get a little more interested in, not like hyped up, but like definitely less cynical about it.
So when they announced the movie, they didn't announce like the roster for the show yet. I mean, for the movie yet. And I was like, right away, I was very excited. The fact that there's no Baron Zemo and there's no Abomination to me stinks because both of those guys would be great in this movie. Especially, I don't think there was like I didn't hate She-Hulk as much as everybody else did. I thought there was actually a few things to take away that were good. And I thought Abomination was one of them. Like I thought he's, I can't think of the actor's name there. Fucking
Tim Roth.
Tim Roth. Thank you. He's always good. And he was great as Abomination and She-Hulk. So I was hoping he'd be back. And obviously Baron Zemo's awesome.
Yeah. That guy, both very good actors. I would agree with you. I think She-Hulk, he was almost the highlight of it because you really don't expect anything from that character, and he's very funny, very dry, very well used in that show. That show, there's like parts of that show that are good. It's just the reasoning in my head around spending like $220 million on like a sitcom,
crazy.
Like it's tough to rationalize.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I said, I wouldn't even necessarily say that I liked it. I just didn't fucking hate it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Especially the finale. I thought the finale was genius. Like that's beyond breaking the fourth wall. That's breaking every wall that's in existence.
It was smart. Yeah. And it was a good way to end it. It's just there's there's good thing to take away from it. There's also a lot of bad, which is unfortunate. But that's just what Marvel.
Daredevil was cool. Daredevil was cool.
Daredevil was cool, and that they him getting a series back, I thought was also awesome. Him and Bernthal, I think, are both two guys like you want to talk about guys that like really earn their keep in the Marvel world. Like those are two guys that really did.
He was the Punisher series, the first season especially. The second season was still good, but that first season is fucking incredible.
Really, really good.
Deadpool Wolverine, thoughts?
Loved it. That was a very, very fun screening. I think it was me, Bob Fox, and Clem went to go see it, and we
what a team.
It was they get, and this is something I don't know. This is just it may like too inside baseball maybe, but like at screenings they typically won't give you shit unless it's like you're at like some I don't know mega thing or whatever. But like they gave us like commemorative popcorn buckets, or I'm like, oh, they really believe in this shit. Like that's not something
Wolverine fist one.
Yeah. Like the like Wolverine's face. Yeah. And I was like, they really believe in this shit. And then it was very, very funny. And my gut reaction of it walking out was like, I think this is a very funny movie in a like almost in an SNL sketch type of way. Where, like this is gonna be very funny for the next 5 years. If you revisit this 5 years from now, it's probably not gonna be as funny. But that's okay, because that's kind of what these movies are. That's what all three really have been.
For sure.
And I think that critics didn't really take it that way. They took it as something that needs to live on immortal in cinema history, and that's I don't think the way you should consume a Deadpool movie.
No, definitely not. The only way I think it does kind of still play is if you're doing like one of those binges, like if you're watching like say like the Marvel timeline thing, because then a couple of those like you're joining at the low point jokes, like that shit'll still hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But otherwise, no, you're definitely right. All the Deadpool movies do that though.
Yeah, like you'll go and you'll watch, and they'll be like, there's still very like evergreen funny lines, but then he'll say some shit that was funny in 2016 and isn't funny. He'll be like, oh, you like shit guzzling douche nozzle, and it's like, oh, that's not really that funny anymore. Like that was great, and then not funny now.
I would say even like say like in the second one, it's like the dubstep thing. It's like honestly, like now dubstep's really not a thing like at all. So that one I feel like is almost really played out. Like that thing's gone now.
Yeah, agreed. But yeah, it's again, you absorb it. I think it's better to absorb it more as a temporary thing versus a long-lasting movie.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. Like I said, I liked it more on the second watch for sure. I can tell you my biggest thing with that soundtrack is phenomenal. That's one of my favorite soundtracks. I'd say it rivals the Guardian movie. It's definitely my favorite Deadpool soundtrack. I'd say it rivals the Guardian movies.
That was one of my favorites. Also, Rob at Fox actually interviewed the editor of Deadpool the other day, and he said that they only decided on using Bye 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 like last minute. Like they were running through like 5 different songs. Like I think they were almost on The Gambler, like was like the last cut before they decided to go with Bye Bye Bye. And like I think that scene now, like it's so pervasive in pop culture, like it's
all over.
It's all everyone TikTok dancing and shit. Like everyone's going crazy with that. And I think it's cool to see like the nuts and bolts of that. Like it becoming a viral moment when maybe if it was The Gambler, it wasn't, stuff like that.
They put out the Madonna remix, like the choir version. I swear to God, dude, I've listened to it like 20 times in the last like 24 hours. It's only 2 minutes long, and I'm just like, this is fucking awesome.
Really good. I've been loving it.
It is. That scene's great too. That end sequence is fucking phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And I
steroids. Like, I want those Hollywood steroids more than anything because Hugh Jackman is just looks great.
It's unbelievable. The stories about him too are just like I don't know if you saw, like I think he dehydrates himself like 32 hours beforehand or some shit like that. Like that's wildly unhealthy.
He's like a UFC fighter or some shit, or like a boxer, wrestler, or whatever. Like those crazy stories you hear about them is just Hugh Jackman's every movie day, like every
for
movie
real.
Show.
It's fucking crazy.
It's nuts.
We go to great movie here. We're gonna go to Agatha, which I'm not sure about you, but I can't imagine anybody asked for this show. I certainly didn't. But then we go Captain America, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, Blade.
Mm-hmm. The Agatha one, I think, was like people were pumped about that in like was that 2019
Disney launched?
Yeah. Like when that came out and everyone was like loving Catherine Hahn, like, whoa, this is cool, this is like a great character. And when they initially announced it, I think most rational people had the same thought, like, how the fuck are you gonna stretch this into a full series? And like we just talked about it yesterday, I used the sort of example, like I was just tweeting about like Michael Keaton on The Other Guys. I think it's like such a funny, great role. If you told me they're going to make a full series about Michael Keaton from the other guys, I'd be like, you're stupid. That's not a good idea. Like, that was very funny and a measured punch. You can't expand that out. So I don't totally get it, but maybe it's just not something totally for us, if that makes sense.
This was the first one. Like, even the Echo one in some way kind of made sense to me. I'm not sure why it did, but this to me, like, felt like such a side character. Like, especially, I don't know if it's, I like Catherine Hahn, no qualms against her, but for her to be like a central face in an MCU project to me is fucking insane.
I'm curious what the budget is on that too. It's because if they're spending like $100 million on it, again, like a Catherine Hahn,
I bet you it's more.
Yeah, and we read the synopsis too, and it's just like, come on, what are we doing here?
Yeah, for real. I mean, they did get like a decent cast around it.
Yeah, Aubrey Plaza, all those people. Let's see. Oh yeah, $100 million minimum on it. They're saying so far, which is like, I don't know. Yeah, the money's got to be going somewhere else.
Oh, see, I see 200.
Oh no,
that's what I'm seeing. I mean, this could be different, but that's what I'm seeing. As of June 29th, 2024, Agatha All Along, a Disney Plus series starring Catherine Hahn, John Locke, and Patti LuPone, was reportedly to have a budget of over $200 million.
And they're like, there's no, like, again, no disrespect to them. There's no like star in that. And like, you just spend that much money. And the same thing when you look at, again, She-Hulk or Secret Invasion was even worse because the budget was so big and it looked visually so bad. Like that, you can't be doing this anymore.
No. That the final episode where Daenerys is on, like it was so bad. It was so bad.
I don't know how that makes it past the final cut. Like, I don't know how an editor looks at that. It's like, this is ready for TV.
Yep. It's one of those things where it has to pass by like a bunch of people. It's not even just that one guy. It's got to go through a whole line before that.
Test audiences, like, so many different layers, man. It's unbelievable.
It's crazy. We already mentioned Thunderbolts kind of quick. Captain America, I guess I'm in. I mean, I'm obviously going to go see it, but no real expectations for me, at least. I'm excited to see Harrison Ford as Red Hulk. That'll be cool.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Someone was, I think Harrison Ford was saying, or maybe it was someone else on the cast was like, yeah, I'm really excited about this movie. It's really grounded. It's closer to like the old Aspen thing. It's like, dude, you got like the president turning into the Hulk. Like, it's kind of tough to be like, you're being super grounded when that happens. But they do make a big point of saying, like, throughout all the press tours and shit so far, like, yeah, it's going to be closer to Captain America than Winter Soldier, which is one of my favorite MCU movies. It's so good.
Top 5 for me for sure. So
agreed.
Let's see. Fantastic Four, obviously, big cast for that one. That's this summer. That's highly, highly anticipated. That one I'm excited for.
I'm very pumped for that. The only thing I still don't get is Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm. Like, that is the one cast
everywhere right now.
I know, and it's just for him though, and because like in my brain I think of every Fantastic Four I've seen, it's Chris Evans, like Rocket, and then it's Michael B. Jordan, Rocket, and then it's this pudgy English kid. I'm like, I don't know, I just don't see it as Johnny Storm is supposed to be like almost a sex symbol, fucking superhero.
For sure,
it's not. Yeah, I don't know that part. I don't get. Everything else, I think the other 3 great cast members, Eben Moss-Bachrach, the guy who's obviously just crushing the Bear. Yeah, Cuzzo and the Bear. And he was great in Andor as well, among many other things. But he's been crushed. Great pick.
You mentioned that Andor series, and like I can appreciate it. Like, it's a good series. It's very well made. It's a good like series. It just like is like it wasn't for me. Like, it wasn't Star Warsy, like, to me, like, almost at all.
I hear you. See, that's almost what I liked after the rebound effect of overly Star Warsy things, especially like Rise of Skywalker, where it's like, hey, this movie's just made by like a fan service, like YouTube account or something like that. Like, the rebound from that into like basically what would be a cool espionage show that just happens to be set in the Star Wars world. That to me was cool, but I totally understand if you're going into that like, hey, I really want a good Star Wars show, and not liking it, then that I would totally get.
I wouldn't even say like I needed that much more. Like, if I could get like 20% more Star Warsy shit shoved in there, I would have been like very, very happy. Because like I said, you can tell it's a great made show. It's just, like I said, it was too dry. I needed more fucking Star Wars pizzazz.
the guy that made it, Tony Gilroy, I think he said like he just never watched a Star Wars series before.
Yeah,
like he had never. He's just like, I'm not into. I just really wanted to make a cool espionage series, so and I just happened to make this, which I think in this case worked. But it is again, it's a kind of give and take with the Star Wars world. Although I will say next season, they are including Krennic, who's in Rogue One. They're including K2SO, who's in Rogue One. So I think we're gonna get more Star Wars in this next one. Me too.
Easily one of my favorite droids of all time.
Such a great one.
He is awesome. Let's see. The only other thing we did fantastic. Oh, Blade. Do you think are we even gonna get Blade?
At this point, it's like the Boy Who Cried Wolf almost. You know what I mean? Where it's like you know what? I would compare it to the Steelers Brandon Ayuk trade, which is just every 5 seconds you hear something about it, but nothing's ever going to actually happen. It's very frustrating. More than
it is.
Blade's cool. It's a cool character.
Awesome. Yeah.
And especially after seeing Wesley Snipes come in and do his little like winking nod to the camera, like
that was great.
Blade. Yeah. And then Mahershala Ali, such a good actor, like getting him involved.
Fantastic. Yep.
Yeah, so
Mia Goth is like I think she's supposed to be like a bad guy. Like she's fucking awesome, and I could totally see her as like a crazy ass villain.
She'd be incredible, and it's just everything I really would love it to be good at this point. Just where Marvel's at in their realignment or something, I almost want them to go and just do their own version of like Blade and just don't call it Blade. Like have Mahershala Ali go make a cool ass Daywalker vampire movie and just not be a Blade movie. Just give them some space away from that so they could do their own thing, because they fired like 10 writers at this point from this project,
something like that. It's been crazy.
It's crazy.
Like I feel like the whole thing they've said has been rewritten like 5 times at this point. The entire script has been thrown in the trash and rewritten.
It's insane. And all I could think about, because after I watched Deadpool, like I had to go rewatch Blade, because I was like, all I could think about is that rave scene with the. It's still so good. Do
they hold up?
Yeah, the first one. I can't talk to the second, third, but especially Blade Trinity. But this like the club scene where he comes in with the rave playing and the blood coming out of it's just so good.
Nice. I haven't watched those in a long time, so I might have to dive back into those.
Very fun movies.
Last thing real quick before we bounce from the MCU, Robert Downey Jr. coming back to the MCU, Dr. Doom. I fucking love this. I think it's fantastic. I don't know about you.
I'm a little torn on it in that it's like on its face, it should be awesome because you have an incredible actor coming in and rejoining all this. But on the other hand, I can't shake the feeling of it just feeling cheap, where it's like, hey, our shit's not working right now. Everyone's pissed at us. Nothing's working. Let's bring back from the dead the one character everyone could ubiquitously agree was like the best part of and the starting point of this entire media franchise. And like, I get it, and they could be cool. Like, I just so much more needs to happen. Like, we need to see more of like where they're going to go with it's going to be Avengers Doomsday, right?
Yes.
Like how they plan on bringing him back and all that stuff. It's like that stuff is going to be, I think, the more telling sign. But like as of right now, I'm definitely hesitant. Ask me the same question in like, I don't know, like a year when they have stuff more plotted out. It might be a totally different answer. But yeah, it definitely felt cheap. But at the same time, I'm like, still, it's Robert Downey Jr. It could be great. Could be amazing. He's one of the great top tier actors. So all that though.
I love the idea of seeing Robert Downey Jr. in the MCU and like a completely a new start level with completely drastic changes. Like I want to see him just go from Tony Stark and how he goes to Dr. Doom rather than Iron Man.
Yeah.
That's like actually like a good what if, which that show is lacking like actual creativity, even though some of the episodes are okay. That's one where it's like you have so many fucking options and you're not really using any of them. But I feel like this whole Kang thing with Jonathan Majors has been such a bad, like the MCU's already been taking a hit with bad projects. And now you have to take the face of your bad guy for this entire saga and throw him in the trash and introduce something new. And it's going to have to hit. Like it's going to have to be something that audiences approve of and don't think is weak. And I feel like you bring Robert Downey Jr. in this kind of storyline where it's a different variant, but it's still Tony Stark. He just went evil. I think it's fucking genius. I think it's great.
I want it more than anything to work, really, especially for the Avengers franchise, because it's such like a mainline. It's like the backbone of the MCU is making sure that those are good. And like with the exception of like Age of Ultron to a degree, like they've all been like extremely well received. So like that is like, and I like Age of Ultron, by the way.
I think there's some revisionist history on Age of Ultron. I think there's a lot of that.
Yeah, people shit all over that James Spader performance, and I think he was really goddamn good in Age of Ultron. I think it was cool. But outside of that, there was definitely some other shit. But I think there's a lot of potential. It's just I'm definitely a little hesitant just because the move again, it's just a cheapness feeling. But I think that it can be overcome so quickly the minute we find out more.
I can definitely understand that, but for some reason, to me, like as soon as I heard that this was like the multiverse saga, and this was kind of the whole concept behind it, which is this insanity of different variants, especially when you watch the Loki series and how good that was, and it was crazy. Like you have every variant of everybody. To just take Tony Stark and just have like, I don't even feel like it's that crazy of a shift for him to go from like good to bad. Like I feel like, Pepper Potts dies, something changes, and the next thing you know, he's like, I don't think it's that out of the question.
Yeah, he's definitely like one of the more gray, like he's like a borderline anti-hero, but not really. But like, you know what I mean? He's close to like yeah, it's not like if Captain America you were saying is going to come back as a villain, I'd be like, oh no, like that's crazy, that could never work. But like this is definitely he's more on that other side of the spectrum, grayer end of the spectrum for sure. I'm with you in that it could be very, very cool. I just need to hear a little bit more. But I also, on top of that, just to add on to it, I love the Russo brothers coming back to the Avengers because I think that they've gone off to do their own things which haven't been totally great. And since they have not really been involved in Marvel, like their stuff hasn't been great. I think that they are the perfect marriage. Like they should never split up again.
There was one that was at least in my opinion, that was overhated. It was the one with Tom Holland. Was it Cherry? No, was it Cherry?
Cherry. Yeah.
See, that one I thought was a little overhated. I actually didn't despise that as much as everybody. I mean, again, that's not like necessarily like I liked it, but I feel like that one was very hated. And I was like, I've seen a lot worse movies than that.
I think one I was more disappointed in was the Gray Man, right?
Was that with oh man, no, that was with Gosling. Yeah, that was with the Gosling and Chris Evans.
Yeah, and I really
could just sit there and talk for 2 hours, and I'd be very entertained.
Yeah, and that one, that was big budget, globe spanning espionage thriller, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be sick, and it was just kind of like good, and that was a little bit bummer because again, your expectations are Endgame, Infinity War, like Winter Soldier, like all there, and to not get that same level is maybe the expectation's too high.
I did like Chris Evans as a bad guy.
He was very good. I do think he's going to have a cool later career when he's not like kind of as he's now no longer like zeroed in on being the good guy. And you see like bits and pieces of it, like Scott Pilgrim. He's a great villain. A couple other movies, but like I think you can get his later career. He's going to be more of a villain. Same thing with like for example, like Tom Cruise. I wish he would go back to playing villains so bad, more than anything in the world.
It was Collateral. Great role for him.
Lestat in Interview with a Vampire, like he's such a good villain. But
I never would have thought of that one either.
Just like the powers that be won't let him play villains anymore, so it's a bummer. But he's so good at it.
Yeah. All right. I think that pretty much hits MCU. Let's see here. A couple of smaller ones. Big thing going on with like decades later sequels. Like obviously Top Gun just hit big with Maverick. Now we have Gladiator 2 and Beetlejuice 2 coming out within like 2 months of one another. Both Ridley Scott and Tim Burton back, so that's good. A lot of the like original cast of Beetlejuice is back. Both these movies I'm actually more excited for than I originally was when I just heard like that they were coming back. Now that I've seen the trailers and everything, I'm actually excited for both these movies.
Yeah, I would say for me more so Gladiator than Beetlejuice, only because Gladiator was more like definitely a bigger part for me growing up than Beetlejuice was. Like I liked Beetlejuice as like a younger kid, but I was never like I feel like some people it was very like, oh my god, it's the best movie. Like, or same thing with most Tim Burton things. Yeah, like horror movies, they have like you have very hardcore Tim Burton fans that are like all over it.
Yeah,
I was more like a casual Tim Burton guy. But I would agree with you in that when you hear them on their face, it's like, oh, Gladiator 2, oh, Beetlejuice 2. Like, I don't know if that works, but then when you see the product, at least like parts of the product, it definitely looks better. And especially with Gladiator 2, the original. Did you ever hear about the original pitch for Gladiator 2 that Ridley Scott had?
No.
It's really
awful.
Bad. His original thought process, and this wasn't that long after Gladiator had come out, he wanted it to be almost like, have you ever seen X-Men Origins Wolverine?
Yes.
He wanted it to be that intro sequence, except it's Maximus brought back to life by the gods to fight throughout time in different wars. This is Sir Ridley Scott pitched this. This is what he wanted to do. This is like not that long after Gladiator. It's crazy. It was the dumbest idea I've ever heard. Obviously, they didn't go in that direction. But then you see the trailer for Gladiator 2, and you're like, shit, this could be awesome. Top involved, all that stuff.
I do love Denzel. Like refuses to do anything but Denzel.
He's literally just Denzel wearing like ancient antiquity garb. Like that's it. It's so funny. But those other actors, like Paul Mescal's in like one of those guys just on top of the world.
He's coming
Pedro
up
Pascal, same thing. Getting who was it? They got
Joseph Quinn looks freaking funny as hell in this.
Yeah, him and Fred Hershinger, I think is his name. As like the dual emperors, great double casting there. See, by the way, that's a Joseph Quinn role. That's not a sexy role. That's like a good, like little, like wretched, like lizard. That's like what you need him as.
I saw the comparisons to Cersei Lannister online. I fucking died. Those were so perfect.
Yeah,
so perfect.
Spot on. That I think looks awesome. And Ridley Scott's been saying like, yeah, this is like the biggest movie I've ever made. Like this is like as far as like scale wise, like this is like some of the biggest shoots, biggest battles I've ever shot in my entire life. It's free. And that hearing that from him is very
yeah, for sure.
He shot some huge. It's not even just Gladiator. Like Kingdom of Heaven is massive scale. Like all these other movies.
There's a couple. Even the movie sucks, and I think he did Robin Hood, right, with Crow.
Yeah,
that's him, isn't it? Like even that one's got some big set pieces too.
That one had big ones, and then Beetlejuice. I think, and you could probably tell me better than this as like I would say a bigger fan. The seeing like a lot of the mix of the old school practical effects with some newer CGI, I think has me very much more intrigued.
I think that you need that because if you go too new school, I feel like it loses the muster and that vibe of what Beetlejuice is. Because Beetlejuice is almost supposed to be like, it's like dirty. You know what I mean? Like it's not supposed to look clean and perfect. Like it's in an attic and like I said, like muster, I feel like is a good word. It's supposed to be musty.
And just seeing like for example, like the eyes popping out of the face thing, like all that being like that claymation, weird, like old practical effect looking, I think is so perfect. Because I would agree with you completely in that, like when you CGI, I feel like it's so not as scary now, especially when it comes to horror or trying to scare people, because it's just like it's almost impossible to make it look real enough to be scary. But practical, practical, maybe if it doesn't scare you, it like makes you feel revolted, which is
those fucking Terrifier movies.
Yeah, exactly. It's so much scarier to me in every way than anything you can do with CGI. And that I think is something that I got a lot of out of this Beetlejuice trailer. And also, obviously, what's her name? Jenna Ortega is now just the Scream Queen. So she's and it's like a great spot for her.
I also love how Winona Ryder looks perfect. Like she looks exactly how her character should have nailed it.
Yep. Love seeing her back too. I feel like she I guess post klepto era like kind of fell off the face of the planet. But like seeing her back and stuff, Stranger Things or whatever else. I always liked her.
She's great. Oh yeah, she's awesome. And she's great in Stranger Things.
Yeah, really good in Stranger Things.
I'm excited for both those though. I really am. I was trying to think of like another good one that I'd want next, but I really couldn't think of anything. I would love it. There's already sequels for it. Obviously, they're not very good, but I would love a fucking Jaws reboot of some kind. I love those kind of movies, and that like all the ones they do like are so corny. Like the Meg sucks. Like I want like a good grounded like fucking shark movie, or even like if it's something else, I don't know. Give me Lake Placid, I guess.
Yeah, what I think is always the coolest part about horror. And I remember I watched I think it was an interview with the guy that did Halloween. He said not Carpenter, like the producer of Halloween. He said like there's nothing scarier. Like we can't show you anything as scary on screen that is as scary as whatever you can think of in your mind is actually happening. So like you're saying like out in the water, like when I'm out on if I'm out in the lake and I feel something touch my foot, I'm the most horrified person that you've ever seen in your life. Or like if I get out too deep into the ocean or something like that, like horrified. But so like those movies when you're out in the water and you don't physically see these creatures like a shark, whatever, until way later in the movie, I think it's so much smarter than when you get like the Meg or Meg 2, whatever, and it's just big, giant, in-your-face CGI creation. It's just not scary.
Exactly. They build up Jaws in the original to be like a serial killer. You said like a Michael fucking Myers. Did you go see? They remastered it in IMAX like a year ago. I went and saw it, and it was fucking awesome. I couldn't believe how good it looked remastered.
I didn't get a chance to see it, and I really, really regret it. But I am going to. They're doing in New York it's like a Steven Spielberg revival thing. I think me, Clem, and a couple of people are going to go and watch because they remastered a few of his movies, and they're releasing them out in I forget which theater, but we're going to go try and see some of those.
Is
It'll be
E.T.
fun.
one of them by any chance? Because I would
I
love
believe,
it.
I believe so, and some of his even older stuff, I think too.
That'd be
But I
sick.
gotta double check.
I
Yes,
love an E.T. remaster. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, and I haven't watched that in forever too. That would be like a true rewatch.
Yeah. That was one of my favorites growing up too. I would fucking love that.
One of the all-time great soundtracks too.
Oh yeah, yep. Let's see here. All right, got a couple like gaming related ones, kind of. We got Last of Us 2 coming out in. Did you play the Last of Us games? Yeah. All right, nice. So we got season 2 coming out this winter. We got the first little teaser for it. I think it was during the finale of Hot Dragon or House of the Dragon. I love the games. I'm a massive fan of the games. I loved season 1. I thought season 1 was incredible, and I'm super excited for season 2. And I thought this teaser was perfect. Very excited.
Perfect amount. The only thing I'm worried about is I love Caitlin Dever, and she's about to unleash a hellstorm on herself because fans of the games were so egregiously, dude, they were going nuts on her, and like not like even like the voice actress I think had to like shut off her social and stuff like that. So like that's what I feel. I feel bad for Caitlin Dever, who's like I think one of the great young actresses, and now she's
she's good.
She did a great movie recently on Hulu. That was a horror movie about aliens. That was amazing too. I mean, she's obviously dope sick, all these other things.
Yeah, that's what I've seen.
But she's really unleashed. Just I feel like opening up the floodgates to get a lot of abuse, which sucks. But I do think that the story of Last of Us 2 is way better than I think a lot of people put in retrospect.
I agree.
Yeah, so I'm super excited for it. I totally agree with you. Season 1 was amazing, and that guy Craig Mason, who had done like Chernobyl, among other things, I think he's
arguably the best miniseries of all time.
I totally agree. Totally agree. I'm so excited for this.
Yeah, I love like this is. I feel like especially fans of video games when they want their game brought to TV. This is like very true to the original like story of the game. They only changed like a couple little things, and I feel like a lot of the changes were good. Like the whole stepping on whatever you want to call it, the stepping on the goddamn arms and shit, and it sends like a wire to the rest of them everywhere in the area. Like that was cool. Like that's a cool change.
That and like even like the Frank little subplot, which obviously isn't part of the games either. Like that's a little bit of like, hey, you want to get an original story involved in this like very what is so far like a 1-to-1 adaptation, and you want to give like a little bit of your own flair or whatever. I think that was well done, a really good story. And for what was like in the games, when you find like what was Frank's boyfriend's name or whatever, I forget his name, but like
Bill.
When you find him, it's a sad scene, but I think that the way that they did it in this was so much sadder. And not even getting Bill sucks, but like it was, I think you still get him, but like I think they did a really good job with that.
Awesome.
Really good in that, as is the other guy who was in White Lotus, the Australian dude. I love this series. So good. Fucking
White Lotus. That's one I got to go back and watch too. I freaking, especially season 2. I loved season 2 of White Lotus.
Me too. It's really good.
But I'm very excited for that, especially after that first little tease we got. Yeah. Another thing that's like getting kind of big right now. I know you're a fan of Ghost of Tsushima too, right?
Of course.
Okay. So we have that. Then you have Shogun, which was obviously really good, which they're coming out with the season 2. Assassin's Creed is doing a samurai thing. So samurais kind of seem like a thing that Horizon, and I'm very in on that.
Yeah, me too. There's such a cool kind of like untold world where like at least in our cinema, the most exposure you'll get is like Tom Cruise, The Last Samurai,
which is
or like some
not great.
Yeah, or like you get like all these other things where it's like even to an extent Shogun, where it's like here's this cool world of samurai, but you need like some Western sort of view on it as well.
Which
and like
my least favorite part of the show, like that English dude, I didn't even need a Portuguese dude, whatever. I didn't even need him.
Exactly. I feel like the more that you get, just like letting in, like this show had like a very cool writer who was like super like interested in like all the lore and all that stuff, and making sure there's a loyal adaptation of the book. Which, from what I've heard too, the guy who wrote this book, this was like his worst book. Like the other books he has are apparently incredible, and they're the ones I think they want to adapt to. But I really loved Shogun. I wasn't thrilled with the ending. But I do think that maybe season 2 kind of will be able to step up on that a little bit. But I agree with you. Samurais are having a big time moment, and then the adaptation of Ghost of Tsushima is going to be, I think Stahelski is doing it, right?
I think so. Yeah. Is that
Like the
that's
John
going to
Wick
be?
crew.
Is that HBO or is that Apple?
I don't know. The only thing I remember was that I think Stahelski was attached to it, and he obviously did John Wick among many other great things.
Yeah, I can't fucking wait for that. I'm about to finish like I think my third or fourth playthrough of that. Playing
It's
it right
so
now.
good.
It
the
is.
What do you call it was really good too. Not DLC, whatever. I guess kind of DLC that they added onto it was really
Island of
good.
Iki.
Yeah,
Iki
and
Island.
their multiplayer was also good. That I tried way too late, which is very fun.
Yeah. No, that game's incredible. And as far as looking beautiful, man, that game is one of the most beautiful games of all time.
Yeah, and it's curious how to see how I feel. The Assassin's Creed dudes must be so pissed that Ghost of Tsushima beat them to this punch, because people have been asking for that forever. Like, make a samurai game, make a samurai game. Now that they've made it, they've been preempted by like one of the best games of like the decade.
Which that game's been kind of controversial online too. A lot of mixed opinions on that game too.
Yeah, people are. I think that's one where they had to know. You throw a Black Samurai in there, people are going to get pissed. That's just one of those things. Like, they knew there was going to be outrage to it, no matter what. And but the thing is, I think if you go and look at the reaction to the game in Japan, they are all on board. Nobody gives a shit. It's
no
yeah,
shit.
they love it. And that, I think, is the more telling thing there. But that I'm super excited for. And there was another samurai thing I think we were missing too. I feel like I don't know. But yeah, that world in general is just super interesting.
I am too. I like it a lot. Especially, I couldn't believe when I found out that Shogun is like hundreds of years after Ghost of Tsushima. I was like, oh shit, that doesn't. I was kicking ass in Ghost of Tsushima. I didn't realize it was that far off.
Way further off than we might have thought.
No shit.
That's a really fun story, and I feel like we turned a corner with video game adaptations. I don't know if you feel about that way too. I feel like we were in a real. It's The Last of Us, Fallout, like all these things are coming out that are like really good, and even like, for example, like Fallout's not a linear game, like, and they still managed to do that right.
They did. They definitely did.
And
you know what? When we're on there, what is your take on the Assassin's Creed movie with Fassbender?
The Fassbender one, I feel like, and this is maybe, I think this is a common thing with a lot of video game adaptations. It felt like the person who directed the movie did not ever play the game, which is something I felt like with the Halo series, for example.
Oh my god!
Like, so I don't know how they got through 2 seasons of that. It is so bad. No, the showrunner of that, I think, should be banned, like, from ever making an adaptation of anything ever again. Only do original shit, because that was horrible, despised by the Halo community, despised by, I think, most casual watchers that at least I had heard of. It is just, that was such a fucking nightmare of a series to have to watch. No, have to watch, but you know what I mean.
I didn't even get the season 2. I couldn't do it. I was like, I've seen it.
Doesn't get better.
I'm good.
Did not get better.
It's good to know. But like, the only reason why I asked that was that's another one that got like a ton of hate. And again, I wouldn't say like it's a great movie or anything, but I thought the Assassin's Creed movie was kind of fun. I don't know. I kind of enjoyed it. I'm not gonna lie. There was enough scenes where I was like, all right, that was cool.
There are definitely a few scenes where it felt like that too. I don't think there was it needed to maybe be more one-to-one with the game. Like, maybe you started out like just from the first one, and just go 1-for-1 shot, and that's maybe a cop out, but I think it would have been a little bit better.
Go Animus heavy, like right out of the gate. Like, an opening like 30 minutes should be like modern day. We're getting a guy like in a fucking apartment or at his day job, and we're gonna bring him into this freaking office, kind of like Will Smith in Men in Black, only he voluntarily goes in there. But you know what I'm saying? We just grab a guy off the street, like, all right, dude, listen, this is what's going on.
Oh, by the way, speaking of bad adaptations, I don't know if you saw Borderlands. It's terrible.
I did not, but I did see the reviews being awful.
Yeah, it was not good. But I never played the game.
I did not either.
So like, it was one of those things that sort of, we were talking about like the animation style before, like the video, their style of that game, which is like, I don't want to touch.
Yeah, I got you.
So I didn't like it, and I made it clear when I reviewed it. I was like, I never played the game, so I don't know if it's a loyal adaptation, but fans of the game hate it too. So just a bad movie.
Big cast too.
Kate Blanchett, who the fuck got blackmail on her? Like, I got no idea. How do you get her involved in that?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like Jamie Lee's in that, right? Curtis?
She sure is.
She's been on a heater, I feel like, for the last, the Halloween movies aren't good. The first one was good, but obviously the other two weren't. But like, Everything Everywhere All at Once, she was fucking amazing in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like she's great in The Bear. She's only in a couple of episodes,
Really.
but she's really good in The Bear.
So when she won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress, I was like, I don't think
It's a
like
little weird.
I think Stephanie Sue was better in that movie than she was by like a
Yeah,
decent margin. So that felt weird. But then I watched her in The Bear. I'm like, holy shit! Like if you
yeah,
could have won anything, it should have been for that. That was an incredible performance.
yeah. She's like very almost uncomfortable to watch in The Bear.
Yeah,
Like you feel on edge just watching her, and it's you know what I mean. It's fucking
exactly.
she's great.
Seven Fishes episode is like unbelievable, and it's like basically kind of hinges on her and Bernthal, who were both amazing in that.
Yeah, I liked even the Ice Chips episode. I definitely didn't care for. I thought it was
Yeah, same.
kind of meh, but like I did like even then I still liked her in the episode. I was like, this girl, man, this woman, she's fucking crazy.
Yeah, not great in Borderlands, but I don't think that's her fault. I'm trying to think of
Yeah,
any other
that's one
games.
I'll wait till wait that comes out.
Trying to think of any other games I have that people would talk about Red Dead forever, making that new
Forever.
adaptation. That
Which would be great because there's not like that many good westerns anymore. Like westerns are. I did like the one on Netflix. What was it? The Harder They Fall. Is that what it was? That was a few years ago now.
the Jonathan Majors
Idris
one, right?
Alba. Yeah, Jonathan Majors in it. Idris Alba's in it. A few
That
other
was a good
people were in
one.
it too. That one was good. I liked that one. Great soundtrack. Keep going back to soundtracks. Great soundtrack.
Yeah, very good soundtrack. That was good. I feel like they pivoted a lot more to new westerns where you just graph that, like you make a Hell or High Water, which is the same. It's a western just in modern day.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a great fucking one. I love
his whole trilogy. That the Hell or High Water, the same writer, Hell or High Kelly Sheridan, right? Who obviously yeah, he did Hell or High Water, Sicario, and Wind River, all three incredible new western movies.
Yeah, I like that. Wind River is, even though it does have a western vibe to it, even though it's in the middle of fucking snow.
Exactly.
It's
just like you graph the idea. It's like lone wolf guy needs to like get justice for a big crime against a big corporate enemy. Like that's typically like the idea. It's like, oh, the guy that runs the mining town is hurting people, and we need to stop him and save the town. Like that's typically the western kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's like lone wolf vengeance, and that you graph that over with again like No Country for Old Men, again Hell or High Water, Sicario less to a degree, but more so Wind River.
Another great one.
Mm-hmm.
Another one. I think let's see. Dune Prophecy. I know you're a big Dune guy like me. Dune Prophecy coming. You know what's weird? Still no actual like release date. It's November, but that's it. It's just November.
I really like the cast. I love Mark Strong. I think he's like one of the underrated actors working right now. And I forget her name off the top of my head, but the woman from Chernobyl, who's like the woman scientist that works very closely with the main scientist guy. I forget her name, but she's in it and she's amazing. Like the perfect Bene Gesserit actress.
Yeah,
among a couple other ones too. Very excited for anything Dune, even if Villeneuve's not involved, but his production company, I believe, is involved in it. So anything Dune at this point, I'm into it because it kind of blends. Like I'm in such like I think in the same exact headspace you are right now. Where I'm like mega fantasy. Like I need more fantasy. I need more fantasy stuff. I need more fantasy stuff.
Yep.
And this is like a good blend of that and sci-fi, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. Kind of goes back to what I said about Thrones and how not Thrones, but House of the Dragon and how I like the magical aspect. I like the Bene Gesserit storyline like a lot. They all interest me a big deal. I'm interested to see more and the creation of the entire thing, like whatever you want to call it, the coven.
Yeah,
I'm very intrigued. I'm very excited.
I couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. Very, very excited for that.
I got two left. One of them's quick. The last one before the quick one. I'm excited. I love the Guardians movies. Absolutely love them. I think Peacemaker's incredible. I think the Suicide Squad is incredible. I think they're like the best DC projects that are ever out, basically. James Gunn is now at the helm. And he's still kind of going up against like the old dark DC because we still have the Joker and the Penguin coming out.
Mm-hmm.
A lot going on in DC. I'm excited for the James Gunn stuff. And I am actually excited for both the Joker and the Penguin, even though I fucking hated the Batman.
You didn't like the Batman? Oh,
I hated it, which I know I'm in the extreme minority on that one, but I hated it. I am excited for both the Penguin and the Joker. I thought the Joker was awesome, and the Joker 2, Lady Gaga, fucking musical. I'm all in. I'm all in on all of it.
I think the one good thing that he really has going in his favor, James Gunn, that is like I feel like people have done a good job of like separating mainline DC stuff from the outsider DC stuff. If that makes sense. Like people don't necessarily I don't think we'll watch like the Batman 2, which I don't think is coming out for like another like 3 years at this point. Or the Penguin or the Joker. Like, I don't think they absorb any of those as like part of his stuff,
Right.
which I think is great for him. So he's free to like kind of make his own mark on this.
Is Matt Reeves' name attached to the Penguin or the Joker at all? Is it like a Reeves?
I think he's involved in the Penguin one because what was it? It was originally going to be a Gotham series, which I think they moved. But I'm not sure if he's actually attached. I think he is. Almost positive. And that you want to talk about a transformative role like Colin Farrell. I thought that they were fucking with us when I watched that movie. I'm like, that's not actually him. It's like they, and like not even in an ironic way. I'm like, this is some sort of like marketing trick. He's going to come out later in the movie, and it's not that guy. Is not going to be him because it looked nothing at all like him. It didn't sound like him either. It was crazy. But I think
he was great. That was like my favorite part of that movie was him.
He was really good. I'm very excited though to see what they do with both that side. I agree with you. In Joker 2 being in a totally different direction from Joker 1 with like the musical stuff, very interesting. And some of the other James Gunn things I think are it's kind of like a wait and see thing too. But like all the stuff we've heard about Superman Legacy has been really cool. Like, and he's already done with that. Like they finished filming. They don't do post. He's like, I don't do any really what do you call it, reshoots or anything like that. Like I kind of just make sure I have everything set right. Very interesting. Very interested to see how they do that.
I think as far as actually like making a true, like the Russos are incredible. Like they make like Infinity War and Endgame and Civil War, Winter Soldier, they're all incredible. But I think as far as making like an actual comic book, like come to life on a movie screen, James Gunn is better at it than anybody else on the planet. Like like he's not afraid to say like use like the real comic book suits, which I feel like Marvel has very much tried to go against that. Aside from like the Loki series, which everybody loved, like everybody loved the traditional Loki suit. James Gunn's great at that. I loved in Suicide Squad how he did like the captions for different parts of the movie, basically like Operation Save Harley Quinn, Operation this, the Starfish, all that kind of shit. I thought that was great. Like, I feel like he knows how to make a comic book actually be on a screen.
Totally agree. And I think that the fact that he's kind of, let's say like made his bones or whatever in characters that nobody thought would work, like Guardians of the Galaxy, you know what I mean? Like everyone was like, how the fuck you make this into a mainline Marvel movie? No one knows who the Guardians of the Galaxy are. No one knows who these people are. No one knows who Peacemaker or like Deadshot, like any of these people are really. And for them to all be very cool and have their own identity to the point where like you're able to make a Peacemaker series, which is amazing.
Incredible.
Like, such a good mark on James Gunn's record, which I think makes me pumped to see what he can do. Because a lot of these DC characters, I feel like we've seen a lot of layers of different Marvel characters. We haven't loved all of them. Like some of them have been better than others, whatever. But I think the fact that he's in charge of now this big expansive universe of DC characters is so great for us as comic book media fans, because then we can see him be able to help these actors and print their own identity on them and make more stuff like a Peacemaker or whatever else. So super excited to see what he does with their whole universe.
Peacemaker 2, I can't wait for. I know he recently tweeted out that he was done. He finished writing it, so that's a good sign. I mean, fucking John Cena, man, he was built for that role. He's so good as Peacemaker.
The guy who plays who's the other dude?
Vigilante.
Vigilante's so funny, man. Oh
he's so fucking he's fucking fantastic. There's so many like little things that like this one part, it's towards the end when they're like in a big fight out kind of thing, but he says he has to go pee and he's peeing in the woods and he has his pants down around like all the way to his ankles and he just goes, I can't pee if anything's touching my butt. And it's such a drastic change and shift in tone from what we've been like what we're watching. It's so fucking funny to me. Just a total different dynamic to the show. And he's coming back for season 2. Oh, wait. Did I lose you or something? Hello?
My mic unplugged. Is this better? Testing 1, 2, 3.
All right, there we go. I lost you for a second.
Even like the end of Peacemaker, when like Aquaman and the Flash show up, and like they just give you such a much better little like cameo moment. Like it's good stuff.
Yeah, that was really good. They got fucking Momoa and Ezra just calling in little favors. That was good. That was a good ending.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for that. I know they announced some other things. They got Superman. There was like it's like Creature Commandos. That's an animated series. That one's coming, which I think like James Gunn honestly doing like animated will be like very, very cool.
Dude, sky's the limit. Like you're no limitations to your imagination in the animated universe, right?
Right.
Like you could do anything you want. And that's perfect for him.
Yeah, I agree. He should have been the guy behind What If. He would have fucking killed as what. That would have been awesome.
Oh, he would have crushed that. You're completely right.
Awesome. But yeah, no, I'm excited for Superman. I'm excited for the if you want whatever you want to call it, the Reeves shit. I'm excited for Penguin, even though I hated Batman, but a lot of stuff going on in the comic book world as a whole. Then before we wrap it up, the last thing. I know you're an anime guy. I know you're an anime guy. My best friend in the world, he has been trying to get me, dude, to watch anime for fucking years now. Yeah. He has given me Cowboy Bebop, One Punch Man, and Attack on Titan. Those are the 3 that he gave me to start on. That's my starter package from him. What do you think about that starter package? And would you add anything to it?
So my go-to whenever anyone's trying to get into anime is Cowboy Bebop. And Cowboy Bebop is the easiest transition for anybody that's trying to get into anime, because it's basically, we were just talking about westerns. It is the quintessential space western series, movie, whatever. Like imagine like if you like The Mandalorian.
I do love it.
Cowboy Bebop is the Mandalorian. It's basically proto Mandalorian. It's a space bounty hunter going through trying to collect bounties, and they just keep putting food on his table, like shit like that. Very good underlying storyline too. One of the maybe worst Netflix adaptations I've ever seen in my entire life, ever. So bad. Like people should be in jail for doing that. But the anime is so good. It's one of the best. That's great. Attack on Titan, I think, is a little heavy. For an
you said like political mystery on that one.
That I might put third. If out of those 3 ones, that would be like the third one I would watch in that order. And what was the second one?
One Punch Man. He said kind of comedic.
One Punch Man is super funny, but I was going to say it might be a little bit too referential to the anime genre. But the thing is, it's more referential. Like it's parody series. It's more satirizing superheroes in general than it is like anime characters. So I think you probably still enjoy a ton out of it. It's super funny, very subversive. Just like a very generally funny concept. The whole idea is like this guy, he can only, like, he's the most powerful superhero on earth. Like everything he attacks or fights, he kills it with one punch, and he hates it. He's bored. He's like, and
all right.
And nobody knows who he is, and everyone takes because anytime he doesn't like, he's not like a showy person or whatever. Like whenever he kills something, he just kind of goes home, and other people take credit for his work. So he doesn't get credit for anything. He's fighting all these creatures, destroying all of them one punch. All he dreams about is being able to fight an enemy that he doesn't instantly kill. Right. Because he's almost like stuck playing a video game on like the easiest mode. He's having no fun. And it's very funny concept, really good voice acting too in the English dub. So that I really think would be good for second. Attack on Titan is a very, very good series, but that has to be third.
Okay. You got anything else to add to the list?
Look at my wall of.
If you were a starter.
I think that some of the other ones that at least that I started with, like, were more like Dragon Ball Z things, but that's like all filler. Same with like One Piece, it's all filler. That thing I think or series that I think turn people off to anime.
Okay. I'll say my sense in anime is like fucking the Pokemon series. And then I've watched, like, I'm a big Resident Evil fan. So I've seen the animated like Resident Evil movies. Some of them are actually, a couple of them are pretty cool. A couple of them really stink, but.
I was just talking to someone about how Resident Evil, there's a song they play in the intro to Resident Evil that's just been stuck in my head for 20 years. Like there's the opening of Resident Evil 1 where they're like, it's like an all white screen and they just zoom in on like, and like they twist the camera as they're looking at a guy putting together like the T-virus. Okay. So good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you on Resident Evil. I think that there's some other ones which maybe.
We talk about video game adaptations gone wrong, man. They've done 17 anime, like, you know, and they all stink. The last one wasn't that good, but at least it was faithful to the source material.
Yeah.
Fucking Billy from fucking Black Sails was in it. I can't think.
I love Black Sails.
Black Sails is great.
That's one of my all time. Like if you like Game of Thrones, watch Black Sails. It's one of the best
Black Sails is great. First season's definitely a little tough for sure. Like the first season's, you could tell they didn't have necessarily the budget that they got after that.
Yeah,
but it just kept getting. I feel like that's one that just kept getting better and better and better.
Is his name Tom Hooper or something like like that?
That actually sounds right. So I have Umbrella Academy. Yeah.
They just released their last season. I still haven't gotten to because I've heard nothing but bad things about how they wrapped it up, which is kind of a bummer.
I watched the first season and had no desire to keep going.
Such a weird, like behind the scenes. The fact that was written by the frontman of My Chemical Romance is crazy.
No shit, was it really?
Yeah, Gerard Way wrote the original Umbrella Academy thing, and like he wrote it as like on a whim because he's I guess was bored making great music, and he's just like, I'll just do this. Just became wrote that. It's insane. But I'm trying to think of another good anime that would be good for a beginner. I think the Cowboy Bebop is always my starter.
Okay.
I would say once you get a little bit deeper, stuff like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure gets really good because that's really goofy, really funny.
JoJo's Bizarre.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is good, and there's so many episodes of it not a lot of it's filler. It's more like a serial where it's like every episode's like its own adventure or whatever.
Invincible is supposed to be good, right? Is that anime technically?
That's technically just animation, but Invincible is amazing. It's really, really, really good. That's one of the best.
Is it? Yeah, you're an Invincible fan.
Oh yeah, that's like one of the best animated series I've ever seen. As far as like really making you feel shit in your gut, like that is. Like, I think it's better than The Boys. I think it's better as far as like Amazon stuff.
So The Boys, I've gotten. What's the new season that's coming out? Is that 5?
The next one will be, I believe, the last one. Yeah, that'll be 5.
That'll be 5. So I've seen the first 3, and like I feel like I almost have to like push myself to watch it. I feel like every single episode is so much junk, and then there's like 6 or 7 minutes that are fucking insane. And it's like, okay, that 7 minutes was like so good that you want to go back for more. But I feel like the rest of it, I'm just like, I'm fading out. I'm looking at my phone, which if I'm looking at my phone, that's a bad sign.
Yeah, I think you're pretty much describing this season too. And it's felt very, my biggest complaint with the last season and this last new season and the last one too, it feels kind of repetitive and like almost similar to Game of Thrones where it's like, or House the Dragon, where it's like they're in the same thing where it's like they really want to kill Homelander and Homelander doesn't want to look bad by killing them. But then as the seasons go on, he cares way less about that. So it's like, why doesn't he just fucking go laser them and let's be done with this? So I've definitely become less enthused with that. But this season, towards the end of it, like the last like 2-3 episodes are really good. So I'll credit them with that.
All right. I might have to dive back in. That's at some point, that's like one of those good binges on like a fucking rainy day or something. I'll just go and be able to watch a whole season and change.
Invincible. If out of everything we've talked about today, I would say watch Invincible first. It is unbelievable how good it is.
All right, I'll asterisk that motherfucker.
Yeah, and that's a great voice cast too. That's J.K. Simmons.
Man, one of my absolute favorites.
Yeah, and he voices like one of the biggest characters in the show. A whole slew of amazing voice actor cameos and stuff like that. Like Seth Rogen's a throwaway.
Is he?
Cameo.
I just watched the first episode of the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series that he's the producer on, just like he did the movie too. Which the movie I thought was really, really good. I liked the movie a lot. The first episode was cool too. I liked it.
Yeah, I didn't even know they made it. What was it on?
Paramount Plus.
We'll add that on the rotation.
Yeah, it's like a continuation of the movie too. It's like same anime style and like the same characters and shit like that. It's still like the younger teenage version of the turtle, which is cool. I actually liked that.
Gotcha.
But I think that's pretty much all I got, brother.
Yeah, awesome. Oh, it's been really fun. I love talking movies to anybody that'll listen. So I really appreciate you having me on.
That was awesome, dude. I really appreciate you coming on. Really, that was awesome. I'd love to do something again, whatever it is.
Of course, man. That was fun. Maybe we can work something out where you can come on LCB with me and Gooch and talk about something. We'll do a little.
That'd be awesome. Like that. Gooch is another guy, very horny man. I love Gooch. Big fan of Gooch.
He's a very horny guy. Yeah,
I love following him on Twitter. He puts things all the time, especially Florence Pugh. That's one of our big ones that coincide.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no, that'd be great. Anytime, I'm open to it.
Of course.
All right. Thanks a lot, buddy. It was good talking to you. And as always, I hope everybody enjoyed the listen. We'll talk to everybody soon. Thank you to Kirk, as always, for putting the show on the network. And happy watching.
All right. Awesome. Thanks so much, man. Great timing.